Story time of the time I got done with a client. So it was on a Tuesday, and at the time I was working at a nail salon. And this girl comes in and she's like, I'm gonna get married tonight. So I need my nails done, my eyelash extensions, my hair done, my makeup, and my pedicure. Of course, we were like on a Tuesday, but whatever. We had to do what we had to do because it was a job. It was me and another girl that were working there only at the time. So I was doing her makeup and her hair, while the other girl was doing her nails, because that other girl, the other worker, did not know how to do makeup and hair. So then halfway through her nails, as the lady was filing her nails, she says, if I don't like them, can I come back and pay tomorrow? Obviously, she said, no, tell me what you don't like and we can fix it right now. And then she said, it's because I don't have money. Now, we kind of saw this coming because of the things she was saying. She wanted us to take her to her wedding venue. Let me know for part 2. It gets crazier after this. So she kept saying that she owns Sephora, the brand Lily Lashes, and that she could get her makeup done whenever she wanted. And she kept saying, I'll buy you guys lashes, I'll give you guys free lashes. And she's like, I'll give you guys a good tip. But then when we realized she wasn't gonna pay us, we told her to get out. Okay, so after we told her to get out, she didn't want to get out. So we got her up and we pushed her outside. Obviously not in a mean way, but we told her, like, get out. Now, she was carrying, like, these 2 backpacks and, like, notebooks and stuff. So then she went around and she showed everybody her nails, how ugly they were. But it's just because they were barely done filing. Like, they had no gel on them, nothing. And then she comes back for her backpack. And so the lady that did her nails went to go get her backpack to give it to her. I don't know if she thought she was going to throw it at her. But then she's like, you better not throw that. And then next thing you know, the client grabs her by the hair and pulls her down to the floor. And the client starts, like, scratching her. And she was able to scratch her just because her nails weren't fully filed. So they were really sharp. She ended up having scratches all over her face, under her nose. She ended up bleeding from her nose. And this is where I get down. Let me know for part 4. Okay, so my coworker, or the girl that I was working with, she was on the floor. Obviously, in my head, I was like, should I let this happen or should I, like, help her out? So I decided, let's help her out. You know me. So I was like, let's help her out. So I grab her by the hair and I pull her up. Literally, like, I pretty sure pulled out most of her hair. And I started punching her. And then, as she was standing, I pulled her back by the hair. And I was like, that's what you get for not paying. And as soon as that happened, as I was pulling her by the hair, I had her grabbed by the arms. So then the other coworker started punching her because she was mad that she got scratched, obviously, from her face. So anyways, the police did end up coming. The girl did end up leaving right away, though. Like, the security kicked her out because it was inside of a mall. Her aunt did end up coming and telling us that she was crazy from the head, and she ended up paying us. Let me know for more stories.
My brother tried to kill me. Story time. Growing up, me and my brother would fight all the time, just like any other siblings, really. The only difference is he would actually try to kill me. So one day I was playing the Wii on our living room TV, and my brother comes up to me and he's like, hey, do you mind if I watch something really fast? And I was being a brat and I was like, no, it's my turn to have the TV. Wait your turn. So then he runs and tells my mom, and my mom's like, you have to wait your turn. And he used to have anger problems, so he got really upset. So he storms into the living room, goes behind the TV, and unplugs my game while I'm playing it. And on top of that, I was playing Mario Kart and I was in first place too. So of course I get angry, I take the Wii controller and I throw it at him, and it hit him in the side of the neck, and he gets even madder. And I tried to run downstairs because he's scary. But right before I could take my first step down the stairs, I felt his hands go, and he pushed me down the steps. And I rolled down the steps, almost breaking my neck. And after I got done rolling, I hit my head on this tall glass window that we had at the bottom of the steps. But I'm indestructible, so I lived.
Story time. I babysat a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and there was this one night that I was babysitting a 2-year-old. It was around 10 o'clock at night, so the kid was sleeping, and I was just sitting in the living room. In the living room, there was a big TV, a couch, and then behind me, it was a wall with a giant window. So it was really late at night, I had nothing to do, so I was Snapchatting my friends. If you Snapchat anybody, I'm sure you know that sometimes you Snapchat really fast. You don't even know or look at what you're sending. I was mass snapping all my friends, and then one of them replied 10 minutes later. And he said, "Who's that guy behind you?" And I turned around and no one was there, so I'm like, he's playing a joke on me. But then I get another Snapchat from this friend I had, and she lives all the way across the country. They don't know each other. And she said, "I think there's someone outside." So I was really freaked out because I was alone. There was a giant window behind me. Apparently there was someone outside. I wasn't gonna call the child's parents because I didn't want to freak them out. But I was scared. So then I went around the house, locked all of the doors. Sorry, it's a really long story, like for part 2. Part 2. So yeah, there was a guy outside the window. So yes, I did lock all the doors and everything. I made sure everything was secure. I closed the blinds. So for the rest of the night, nothing else really happened other than this really weird thump. It was like someone was knocking on a window. Allow me to demonstrate. I ignored it because I was in denial that this was happening. The rest of the night was normal. The parents came home. I drove really fast home. And then the next morning I wake up. And apparently, an old man with Alzheimer's had escaped from his little home. I did not know this because it was dark outside, and even if I did see him outside the window, I wouldn't have known this.
I never really talk about myself on here, but I think this is a story worth sharing. I was born with a birthmark in the center of my forehead. It looked very similar to a traditional bindi worn in the Hindu culture. I was told all my life by my family what a blessing it is to have this beauty mark because of its meaning, but unfortunately others thought differently. I would get weird looks from random strangers and was bullied at school for most of my childhood. Kids would call me ugly and worthless. No one even wanted to be my friend or sit next to me at lunch. And for what? Just because someone looks a little different or has something unique about them? Back then I really cared about what others thought. I took words to heart, and because of that I lacked confidence for years. And I'm positive I'm not the only one. I wish someone told me this back then, but being unique isn't a bad thing. It only makes you stronger. Embrace it.
Story time. Thank you, Tiffany, for sending me the story. So Tiffany and her sister were at the beach facing away from the water, and it was getting dark, the tide was coming in, and they heard these crying noises that kind of sounded like they were coming from the ocean. So they called the police, to make sure everything's okay. So the police show up, they check everywhere, and they don't find anything. So they send out boats to go out even further just in case somebody's all the way out there. So this started late at night, but this was a party night, so this went all the way till 6 a.m. and everybody had pretty much left. Tiffany and her sister had stayed a little bit longer, and right then comes a woman running out of the alleyway from the nightclub area. Visibly upset, completely drenched in water as if she had gone swimming. And so Tiffany kind of finds this weird, so she calls the police again. And right as that happens, the girl runs onto the pier and jumps off. Tiffany and her sister are freaking out. The police boats and everything show up and they send them home. A few days later, the police contact Tiffany and ask to meet up so they can ask questions about that night. So the police told Tiffany that the crying came from the woman that was jumping off the pier. She had done this multiple times that night, swimming far out so that the current and the rough waters could drag her under and kill her. Story's not over by any means yet. Part 2 is coming right now. Part 2 of the lady jumping off of the pier. So she was jumping off, trying to swim out really far so that the rough waters and the current could drag her under and kill her. She just didn't want to live anymore. The police told Tiffany that then, 2 hours later, she was found on a different pier trying to do the same thing. Thankfully, the police got to her in time and took her away to a hospital where she can get the help that she needs. Tiffany witnessed this and everything, and this all happened 5 years ago. And so recently, right before COVID, Tiffany gets on a bus and she sits down. And she looks up, and sitting right across from her is the same lady. And she's there with 2 little kids, and she recognizes Tiffany. And she tells her more about that night and how she was going through a really bad relationship. She was having a really hard time and she just wanted to end it all. But there she sat, now married with 2 beautiful little girls, and she tells Tiffany that if it wasn't for her calling the police, that she would have died, not knowing her future. I love this story. I'm so glad that Tiffany sent it to me, not to be cheesy, but I think that this is a very strong message for people who are going through a really rough time. I promise you it will get better. There is a future waiting for you, and if this isn't proof, then I don't know what is.